Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Asia Pacific PropTech Summit 2021. Shout out to our sponsors. Big thanks to our supporting partners, Magic, Cradle, and MDI. And also, thank you to our event sponsors, LMRE, China Mobile International, and MoneySafe. In this session, we're delighted to have four esteemed speakers to share their views and experience on the topic property search credible, responsible, and actionable. Let me briefly introduce the moderator and the panelists. Today, we have Darren Wong from Denzity. His passion for real estate and technology can be traced back to his experience. Before Denzity, Darren worked at a global real estate investment firm. During his tenure, he realized the importance of giving investors a safe place to ask, share, and discuss their questions with experts and other like-minded investors. These insights helped Darren discover his true passion for diving into the PropTech industry. He will be moderating this panel discussion. Next, we have K. Ray Wong from Rentlab. He started his career as an engineer after obtaining his bachelor degree in mechatronics engineering. He soon discovered his passion in real estate and made a huge career change to the real estate industry. In 2015, he co-founded a property investor club in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and gained various experience in the property investment, marketing, sales and leasing management, project feasibility study, and many more. Then he founded Rentlab's Darren Berhad. Today, Mr. Wong is advocating truth and transparency in the property rental market. Next on the line, we have Elson from Property Hunter, a property listing marketplace based in East Malaysia. Property Hunter's platform currently includes a bi-monthly printed publication, an online property listing portal, a mobile app, a property sales gallery, and is today the largest property exhibition organizer in East Malaysia. And last but not least, Stephen Lim has been involved in technology implementation prior to his founding business in FusionQB. He co-founded FusionQB to provide customer-driven solutions, and he is a passionate believer in digital transformation and innovation. He is now leading FusionQB in business partnerships and funding strategies. With that, let's start the panel discussion. Darren Wong, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Tanya, and thanks everyone for being part of it. It's very exciting because I feel looking to everyone's background, we all have a long list of experience when it comes to marketing and real estate. So first thing first, right? Because it's time is very tight. I want to learn more about why do there's so many big platforms out there like Property Guru, Zillow, Rightmove cannot do what we do, and then why would they lack of the need to deliver more after decades of running their business, and why we're here really. So because something that I really want to curious to learn more about it. Let's start with Elson. Would you mind sharing your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, thanks, Darren. We've been in the real estate business for over 10 years as an exhibition organizer, very offline. So I think our involvement in the past 10 years has taught us, how to the importance of customers' engagement and also the trust for property finders, which is why it inspired us to come up with property listing portals here in East Malaysia. And I think like what today's topic is going to talk about is about the credibility of the information, because internet is a vast space. There's so much information, and half of the time there are a lot of fake information as well. So how do we then give the right information to our audience, to our home finders? I think that's the important things that we all have to work towards achieving.
So in your perspective, right, why would, for example, right, I looked into your company before that, obviously that there's a lot of platform out there, but why are some big companies cannot do what we're doing? Why does some people that give only a high level information, and why we're here to give different information? Why can't we just all consolidate here, four of us combine together, join force, right? Why not?
Yeah, indeed. I think it's very interesting how we need to, a lot of time we need to localize information as well, because when you are very big, you tend to focus a lot on the macro. But real estate is really a very, very micro approach if you come to think of it. People who are finding homes, they find homes in a very specific locations that needs a lot of local information. So it's very much like, when we go to travel, when you look for hotels, then you look for very, very specific location information that's around that area. So I think this is where the sort of information that needs to be shared very localized. It needs to be very, very laser pinpoint to it.
I see. So for Stephen, right? I remember your company is focused on rent. Would you mind talking about the difference on when it comes to rent platform and then for a sales and marketing platform? Like, what's the difference and what kind of information you gotta give out more than other platforms out there?
Sure. Thanks for having me today also. So basically Fusion QB, what we are actually focusing here is more on the customer data driven solutions, right? So when it comes to the customer data, we have several stages of the entire customer journey in the experience itself. So we have like pre, during, and also post, right? So on our sites, we are pretty much focusing on pre and also during. So that's where we actually ended up to have our own sales automation solutions by helping property developers to connect, their to-be customer and also some of the prospect that's coming from all the social media and also digital channels of it. And then by driving in all this customer data and then route it to the sales consultant and then to be able to respond it like immediately. So having search is one thing that's driven from customer. Customer will go online and search for a property that they wanted. So Darren, I totally agree with you also. I mean, in the context of ticket size of a person itself, I think the search, the contextual search of a property by the customer, I think is very important. But I think what actually comes next is even more important is that the nurturing part from the property developers to the customer. How do you feed them the correct informations after they have a very contextual search? So that's the part that we want to make sure that we can actually continue digitalizing the processes that property developer has by engaging with customer in a more timely manners and more accurate data, of course with a secured data privacies between the property developer and also the customers.
No, that's a very good point. And I actually kind of want to dive deep a little bit more later on, because the second question coming up is really about the implementation. But before that, Kay, would you mind sharing more about your thought on this topic as well?
Yes, yeah, thank you, Darren. Yeah, so when we are talking about search and about property platform, first of all, we need to think also from the buyers or from the tenants' perspective. What are they looking for when they are searching for a property? So for example, do they just want to know the location, just the size of the property itself, or perhaps even more? So they might be more interested in looking at the photos, the videos, the 360 virtual tours. There's also give them more information about the property that they are looking at, size, location, how about the condition of the existing property, then obviously the last part will be the price, in terms of selling price, how about the rental, as well as the terms and conditions associated to the sales and rental of the property. So as a platform operator or owner, so we have to ensure that all these informations can be provided adequately, also at a accurate and up-to-date manner, with a true and up-to-date data that the user actually can find it helpful.
I see. So let's talk about implementation, because all we talk about so far is obviously things that we want to do, but in practice, how hard is this? Let's start with Elson. Would you mind sharing your thoughts and your experience so far on the implementations and how to do everything?
Yeah, it's gonna take a lot of education, I think, and trial and error. I think one thing that at Property Hunter we try to do is to provide user-generated informations on our website. We talk all about credibility and accuracy of information. So if the agents or the developers are the only one providing the information, then you can tell whatever info you find on a website will be skewed to whoever that's selling it. But however, on the other end, if the information that we see on the website are generated from the users, so very much like like TripAdvisor, the reason why they are so credible, and everyone, including I think myself, we rely so much on that before we go travel is because they are user-generated information. So I think the same can be applied to real estate. So with that, we roll out. We're trying on rolling out this new features called Prop Advisor. So where we try to get users to submit information, give their reviews, whether on an agent or on a specific property or on an area. So of course, idea is always great, but implementing them, I think all gentlemen here have this experience. Really getting people to contribute information. I think that's what we need to focus on now doing.
I see. Stephen, would you mind sharing your thought on this topic?
On our sites, I think pretty much quite straightforward because we deal with B2B. We basically are serving a property developer as our client. So we never really get into like B2C's kind of like so-called like industry. So I think the from our perspective in terms of like implementations of it, I think I would say is that I'll put the mindset as the keyword of it. I think the mindset change of the B2B will have to like really take a very, I would say that, very strong responsibility on that part of it. So a lot of like educations that we want to make, apart from educating the market, to be honest, I probably will see based on the latest statistics that we have in Malaysia. So you can probably know that 96.7% of the internet users is coming from mobile devices on a smartphone, right? So if you ask me, probably the market, the consumer is much more ready than the businesses today. So can the businesses actually change the way that how they serve, the property informations to them? Last time I still remember that, talking about like maybe like 15 years or 20 years ago. So for a consumer or purchaser that will actually looking for a property, right, we have to go and visit each of the sales gallery and trying to like learn about the information, very limited like information on the brochures that we got. But right now today, as a consumer, I want to like be able to look for all these informations online, right? So the property developer will have to play a part as a major role by really like serving as much as informations online and let them to be the one that will actually like go and look for it. Or if not, best if you could have a property app that residing on their mobile apps, feed them all this information, the latest new within their locations that they have. I think that would be even better. So for the customer go and find the information, why not let the information that come to them? So I think that's basically a context that we are facing. And on our side, I think like what we actually like go back to the mindset change like difficulty that we have. I think on our part, we have to keep continuing educating the business by accepting digitalization is one of the things that's happening on the prop tech industry.
So I want to know more, right? Because like for you, I look into your detail, it's really about data. When you share these data about the users and preferences or even changes or trends, how does developers usually to change their mind? And how do you think about it differently, or how do they work with you differently afterwards?
5 years back, I still remember when we have the first conversation with one of the property developers by introducing or proposing a super app platform to them. Having all these property related information within a single app. We got slapped in a way. We got slapped by them and says that why do I need a mobile applications? So fast forward 5 years later today, they are the one that who actually came back to us and asked us to basically implement what they call the property super app. So because beyond property, right, I'm sure that property developer, they have others like business and entity in the ecosystem as well, such as like shopping malls, like hotels, like F&B, like, commercial hub, or even like office building as well. Why can't they centralize all this customer data into one so that the person that who is actually staying in the township is also the same person that's like working within the office building? So you can actually like pull a lot of like others like shopping malls or hotel rewards to them by rewarding them in the ecosystem that you have today. So that's basically what we are actually like trying to do for current year and also the moving forward. And thanks to pandemic as well, I think pandemics has actually stopped a lot of like physical engagement between the property developer and also the customers. So digital is one of the channel, but of course, mobile first channel is where our current focus is. That's where that FusionQB is currently like focusing on.
So, okay, would you mind also sharing your, your opinion on this, and how does the adjustments and how hard is to implement your solution, your idea into your product?
when it comes to super app, thankfully, I think maybe because the markets is still pretty much quite new in terms of Malaysia's, not the context of like China, and the Southeast Asia. So if you ask me, in the context of Malaysia, I think most of the time, I would say that 90% of the buy-ins, right, is actually coming from the top management. So top management is the one that will actually identify, hey, we need an app. We need a super app that's centralizing all the data because of one key reason. Key reason because of a PDPA Act itself, right? So data that residing in shopping mall and data that residing in property arm, you cannot share across. So that's actually considered a two different, data privacy to them. So by having super app to be in place itself, getting the people that's registered using the super app and also coming from a shopping mall or property, then all this data will be fall under one centralized database. So on our side, the difficulty that we have over here is still pretty much at the change of mindset that people that are on the ground, that working on the transformation plan that top management wants it. So if you ask me, it's not so much as coming from the budgetary perspective, but it's more on the people, how willingly that they will be able to transform themselves and also accepting a new channel for them to be able to engage with the customer that they have today.
Wong, how about yourself? How do you feel about the implementation and challenge that you have so far?
Yes, thank you, Darren. In fact, I echo what Elson mentioned just now. It's really not easy to get real feedback from the users. Of course, that's most valuable, for the market to know, and also for us as a platform to actually display the information on the property. So there are many ways to get all this feedback. There are rating, you can put star rating, you can give comments, reviews, and whatnot. But a lot of people, like what Elson said, they just don't want to take that effort to do it. Why they want to give you all this information? Unless we are able to incentivize them in one way or the other, you see. So coming back to the other side is for the people who list the property or provide the information on the of the property onto the website. It could be the agents, the property owners or developers, you see. So to a lot of them, maybe, I just put something basic enough for you to know about the property. That's it. So in hoping that the buyers will come, the renters, the tenants will come and inquire more information from me anyway. So that could be their mindset. But of course, like what Stephen mentioned, if the property is being listed by the developer, they are more willing to provide more information, or perhaps they have more information on hand to provide at the first place. So I think this is the challenge between getting the information from the different parties. And also for outside Rentlab, so we actually, to overcome that, we are introducing property and ownership verification process. So it's like we acting as a third party to actually verify that the property information that you provide are accurate. The photos, the videos, the size of the unit, the floor plan of the units that you provide are really the property that you are marketing. So of course the challenges will be, this involve more manpower, more time, to actually go to the site and do all these activities. But for the good of the user, but for the good of the tenants and buyers, I think, there's something that we can actually offer from our end, from the platform point of view.
Yeah, perhaps maybe Darren, probably it would be good for you to share a little bit, from the Hong Kong context as well.
We're very different, right? Because like Malaysia have a lot of different platforms, and because the size is so big, a different way of doing it. Hong Kong is only 2 to 3 or 4 platforms, and our platforms that's very similar, very competitive, very cutthroat. Right now, for example, right, my job is, and thanks for Stephen for pointing out, my job focusing on overseas. So usually for overseas, you're talking about $1,000 to $1,500 per lead to generate per company. Hong Kong dollars means like US dollars, so it would be around 120 US dollars just for one lead and prospect. And right now we're cutthroat. So for us, it's very different. Is that for us, we use media. Because media, a lot of people here don't want to think too much. Hong Kong people are working a lot. Imagine someone from New York or London, they work really hard and they don't want to think too much. So we see the media as a lot better, and media actually is expensive too to create. So unlike other platforms, what we see right now is there's the trend going on. So it's a very different problem. Number two is that what I see in Malaysia so uniquely is that it's very welcoming technologies and very welcoming a lot of different way of doing things. In Hong Kong, it's very different. People don't want to know what you do. And if client come to me and say, hey, Darren, I'll give you a budget, just do whatever it takes. I will count how many leads you generate, and I don't really care in between. And that's the difficulty of Hong Kong, the culture. So actually learning from all of you actually give me a better idea of how different market and how different trend changes. Now, and that's a really good way to like going back, because I know that COVID have changed all our businesses, right? And then our markets, and obviously like, you know, it's be very obvious to say is that Malaysia and Hong Kong, other countries hit really badly when it comes to a few different markets from rental to sales, and things are recovering now. So how do you see that your technology are able to implement more, and how do you envision that your business can do more that is different than how you and everyone else is doing a year or 2 years or 10 years ago? Let's start with Elson. How do you feel about that?
Of course, I think the reach is a lot wider now as compared to pre-pandemic because of the adoptions of technology. The pandemic sort of pushed the whole industry online. And I think real estate is a very, very heavy industry to move. And Stephen, when you launched that, you said just now, 5 years ago, people were slapping you left, right, center.
Yes.
And now they come to you.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big change. I think in Malaysia, our prop tech industry in general, see what happened in the last 2 years. Yeah.
How about Stephen? How about yourself? How do you feel about that?
I was just basically mentioning about that also. I think in COVID, I think we see two great changes on that happening, right? So I think the first is even my parents at the age of like 70, they came to me and say, hey, I also want a tablet at home, you see. So before pandemic, we have been trying to change the lifestyle that they have, trying to give them feed them a smartphone or smart tablets, trying to get them to be connected to the world in a digital space, right? But the other one that changed, that's why, the people has actually changed. That's why I say the consumer market is much more ready than before. So I think the other part of it is that, property developers still need to continue by selling their property, even though without meeting the prospect, even though without meeting the customers after the conversions, right? So I think the entire spectrum of the property processes that we have today, right? Not just property search, I will still categorize back to 3 categories: pre-sales, during sales, and also after sales. I think we have a lot more other things to play with. That's why that's the reason that why we have these summits as well, so that we can actually introduce a lot more others like prop tech startups that's happening out there, rather than the businesses will always have this mindset to implement everything by themselves. Please go out and then look for the right partner for them to work together on. I think that will actually push the entire market to be much more faster in the space. As you can also see from the e-hailing perspective, that's where Grab actually evolved from where a transportation industry into mass industry or cross industry, but they are not doing everything by themselves. So they are basically partnering with the right partners to feed the consumer market. They know that they do not have the times to implement everything by themselves anymore. I think that's basically the message I would like to send across from the product perspective.
Well, how about yourself?
If I can add to that also, sorry, Darren. I think one thing interesting to observe is the differences between Hong Kong and Malaysian market is that Hong Kong has a very, very established network of bricks and mortars real estate agencies. Literally, there are like 7-Eleven. Every corner you turn to, there is a small shops. There's actually real estate agents. But in Malaysia, we don't have that. KL, such a vast space, let alone you're talking about East Malaysia. There's probably just a handful of agents or agents companies. So that's why I think because of the lack of this network, it made the online portal and online searches grow so organically and so fast because there's a need for that. But I think in Hong Kong, the establishments of the network for so many years has been so strong. I don't need to go online. Maybe I just can go down. I turn to a corner. There are already 5 different agents around me, and you just ask, and I can get information, and I can straight away go and view a house. I think that's probably the difference. Why just now you say, Hong Kong, they're not, the change didn't happen so fast.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of things happening that people talk about cross cities, like maybe Hong Kong can find Shenzhen or Guangzhou asset, or even overseas. And then I'll talk to you guys after offline. But I want to listen to Wong, to your perspective, because obviously rental is a very intimate and local market too. So how do you envision your business do differently as well?
Yes, correct. As we talk about pre-pandemic, in Malaysia, the our Malaysian people just love to view properties. Okay, it has become their hobbies. They go either online or offline. They look at property listings, pick up the phone, call up all the property agents around town, and they spend the whole weekend driving around looking at properties. It has become a weekend hobby sort of things. But coming to pandemic, as we see the whole world lockdown, all these activities cannot happen anymore. So people turn to online, right? So all these platforms, whether it's sell, whether it's rental platforms, all do mushroom out and coming out. So what we see moving forward is because of the social distance requirements, the people are looking at contactless transactions already. There's no longer like, okay, people don't dare to go out and meet 5 agents or and then plus 2 more owners. They could be, you could be meeting up 20, 30, 50 people in a day. No, they turn to the platforms and say that, hey, what are the technologies, what are the tools that we can actually use to actually help me view the property, get enough information about the property, maybe enough for me to just shortlist, then go and view. And it's even better to actually complete the transaction online. Of course, Rentlab, we focus on rental. So if we can do all this online on a contactless basis, yeah, I think that will help the whole property market tremendously.
I see.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but thank you very much for that wonderful sharing. But due to time constraints, we need to end this session another 5 minutes. But before we close this session, right, we have questions from the audience asking 2 questions actually. One from Jason Ding to Elson. How do you ensure data accuracy when content is user generated, considering it is garbage in, garbage out, right? That's for Elson.
Yes, to be honest, we're still fine-tuning on that part and figuring how to make sure that these are not fake information. So I think just one simpler way that we try to do now is to allow whoever, for example, if they're giving a comments about an agent, commenting the service, we do allow the agents to also reply openly on the feedback. And of course, if it's a inappropriate comment, then they can always report and it will be taken down. But I think that 2 ways response that is published openly can allow other people to look at how reliable are this information.
Wow, thank you very much.
Would you mind if I answer this question? I think there's something interesting in our market too, because like I think in Malaysia it's healthier than Hong Kong. Hong Kong's getting there, which is frustrating there, is that a lot of data company become more legitimized and more public, right? I mean, like before the old school data is that you have to buy from data company, and because it's so expensive, you don't want to, kind of showcase the data, raw data. But then there are a lot of platforms right now. What they would do to the audience who listening is that they would actually work with data company, with platforms to showcase a high level information based on the location. So what you can do is that you can based on the location on Google Maps and so on like that, and then get like a high level transaction data around the area and leasing price to know what the level it is. And something that like obviously all platform is going towards. It depends on the incentive or the data company, or they're able to be a brokerage and they want to find a platform to brokerage, or real estate companies are able to showcase a high level information that's not intrusive too much for the listers and able to give value to the buyers as well. So that's how we see it. And then obviously there's a different way of doing it. Depends on how creative people are and people accept it or not.
Thank you so much. I hope, Jason, this answered your questions. Okay, so we have another 1 question from Satura Omar. Talk about B2C. How is the acceptance level on physical versus virtual marketing? Anyone would like to take that?
I think maybe I'll talk on behalf of Hong Kong, because I think Hong Kong and Malaysia are very different. And I think thank you for a lot for this question. So it depends, because a lot of people, Hong Kong is very different, but I'm kind of aware of the whole world, what things are going on. Virtual is a very good tools or bait to at least attract to someone to come into your listing to check out more. And then the thing is, like, reality is that there are actually a lot of people working on solution quietly, haven't rolled out yet, where I kind of have an idea, is that they will actually love virtual viewing, literally having like a VR tools to see what's going on. And a lot of times the AR solution to see the furniture, what's going on. So a lot of people are talking about is that just like Airbnb, you can find a lock somewhere with an agent, you can go into a place, kind of look into AR to see your IKEA, like furniture or not, and then having a tour. So virtual and physical, obviously, is that virtual is one of the best way to find options around you. People might say, hey, I'm close enough, 20, 30 minutes away, I don't mind to drop by. And then the virtual viewing and the physical viewing will come together, work together to make sure people feel emotional about to consider next step to trade. So that's how I think we're seeing, and different culture at different speed, but then more or less is how we how the industry is going towards.
Wow,
Yeah,
amazing.
if I just quickly add on that, so based on Malaysia's context, so I think when you talk about speed, Darren, Malaysia may be a little bit slower in terms of technology adoption, but we do see a lot of successful cases whereby agents able to sell property, close deals through online presentations, through 360 virtual tour itself. We have developers here in Malaysia who have done launching totally virtual. It's a virtual launching. So all these are happening. So I think just given some time, definitely virtual viewing and all this definitely will pick up and will be accepted by the market.
Tanya, how much time do we have? Because I do have a fun question I want to ask all the guests.
Okay, actually, we can actually continue this conversation on a round table. So as for now, thank you very much. We had to close this session, so the next session can start on time. However, I would like to invite all speakers to join a separate roundtable session at roundtable 1 to connect and take questions from the audience and even from you guys as well. And yeah, so we'll see you there. And ladies and gentlemen in the audience, please feel free to visit Roundtable 1 and have a chance to further discuss with the speakers. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, and see you in the next session. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.